Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Can always find that menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. Got to talk LSU-Florida, specifically Garrett Nussmeier's confidence when we come back in 15 minutes. Take it or leave it. Still coming up this hour, and my picks for LSU and Florida and the Saints and the Browns. But at the top of the second hour, every single Friday, we dive into my SEC picks against the spread. We're going to do so again today, but we got to get caught up on how things have gone. It was a good week last weekend, 4-1. That puts us at 46-41 on the season. 5 games over 500. It was a good bounce back week back after a pathetic 1-5 week in week 10, where we simply laid too many points. I think we determined that was the issue.
I've tried to tell you that every time you lay all these points on and you just don't listen, but you listened last week because you took some underdogs and they won.
I did. It was a solid week. So we got to get this week, which is week 12, underway. Let's crank it up, Beck. All right, we start 11 o'clock kickoff, renewal of a Southwest Conference rivalry. Texas is at Arkansas. The Hogs are catching 12 on their home field. Let's see. It's hard for me to shake Arkansas's big game performances of late. After the Tennessee game, LSU went up there and beat them 34-10 and Ole Miss beat them 63-31. Defense just didn't show up at all. Arkansas is dead last in the SEC in pass defense this year, and they let LSU run the ball over them. Well, that's not a good sign for anybody. Ewers got hot last week. I think he stays hot this week. I just think Arkansas can generally punch down at the Mississippi States of the world. They're not ready to punch up anymore outside of the Tennessee game against LSU, Ole Miss, and now Texas. I think Texas is going to win this game by a couple of scores. I will lay the 12 points. Beck, don't look at me like that. All right, 11:45. ULM is in. They're not in Tuscaloosa. They're in Auburn to take on the Auburn Tigers. 25.5 is the number. ULM played Texas earlier this year, and they lost 51-3. They've allowed 37 points per game the last 3 weeks to South Alabama, Marshall, and Texas State. Not great. However, Auburn is 14th in the SEC in scoring offense. I just feel like in this spot, Auburn doesn't have a lot to play for. They still got the Iron Bowl coming up. 25.5 seems like a lot. I'll take the Warhawks, and I'll go to the Plains and take the 25.5 points against a bad Auburn team. Murray State Racers are in Kentucky, Kroger Field. Keep in mind, Kentucky got a big basketball win over Duke this week. I don't think anybody in their fan base knows football's even going on. 37.5 is the number. Cats have lost 5 straight in football. Their offensive outputs in those 4 of those 5, 13 against Vanderbilt, 20 against Florida, 10 against Auburn, 18 against Tennessee. But Murray State is 1-9 this year, and their defense allowed 59 to Missouri State, 52 to South Dakota State, and 59 to North Dakota State. That's really bad. I'm sorry, 37.5 seems like child's play. If you're going to give up 52 to South Dakota State and North Dakota State, I'll take Kentucky to run it up in a game. It doesn't matter. They're not really good teams.
No,
they're
in
fact very bad teams.
No, South Dakota and North Dakota State are good, Hunt.
Bad football
good.
teams. Very bad.
Okay.
Kentucky, minus 37.5. Mercer is at Alabama. 41.5 is the number here. Mercer's rolling into T-Town 9-1 on the season. I never heard of any of the teams they've beaten, but they are 9-1. I think Bama has a letdown here. I think they don't really care about this game. Give me Mercer. 41.5 seems like a lot of points. I just got to hold Bama south of 50. Seems fairly doable. Let's try that. Mercer, 41.5. We'll take it. Missouri's at South Carolina. 13.5 is the number here. I checked earlier this morning. Brady Cook listed as doubtful for Missouri. So it's back to Drew Pine, who led them to a comeback win over Oklahoma last week. Missouri's 11th in the conference in run defense. That's not good against a South Carolina team that just wants to run it. Missouri is 10th in the SEC in sacks allowed. That's not good against a South Carolina team that flat gets after the passer. South Carolina's really good, y'all. It's a good football team. Missouri, I've called them frauds for a month. They are frauds. They're not good. South Carolina wins this game by 20+. 13.5, not nearly enough in Columbia, South Carolina. It's going to be a fired-up crowd, a good football team. Give me the Gamecocks. I'll lay the points. Big one in Athens. 9.5 is the number for Tennessee at Georgia. We don't know about Nico. We don't know if he's going to play or not. You can ask two different people. You get two different answers. Georgia punked Texas in Austin and then got punked by Ole Miss. We know that they're not the dominant juggernaut they were at once because Bama laid it to them in the first half and ended up beating them, and Ole Miss just absolutely hammered them for 4 quarters in Oxford. So we don't know about Georgia. The Vols, we know their defense is good. They haven't allowed anybody to score 20 points. You've heard that a million times. I think if they can hold Georgia to 24 points, they can cover 9.5 with or without Nico. So I'll take Tennessee. I'll take the 9.5 points. If Carson Beck gets hot and Georgia scores 35 points, then I don't think Tennessee will cover. I don't think that's going to happen. I like the Vols defense. I'll take the 9.5 points in that game. And then at 6:45, the nightcap in Southeastern Conference play, New Mexico State is at Texas A&M. It's a 39-point number. New Mexico State is 2-7, and their defense is one of the worst in the country. They're 127th in the country of 134 teams in scoring defense. A&M's coming off a bye. I don't think it's a letdown spot. Their last taste in their mouth is going to South Carolina. I'll lay the 39 points with Texas A&M. I think that they can do that against the worst defense that they'll see all season long. So give me Marcel Reed and the Aggies. If they get Connor Wigman in there, I might have some problems, but I'll take Marcel Reed and the Ags to cover the 39 points against New Mexico State. That is my week in the SEC. Texas minus 12, ULM plus 25.5, Kentucky minus 37.5, Mercer catching 41.5 in T-Town. South Carolina hammering Missouri, 13.5 is the number there. Tennessee catching 9.5, and Texas A&M minus 39.
Yeah,
I'm feeling real convicted on that South Carolina pick.
So when I write down all the teams and their matchups in this document we have.
Yes.
And I don't put. Once you say your answer, I'll put like so and so over so and so, and then I put the points, the spread line. For all of them, I didn't put anything except for the team names. But for South Carolina, Missouri, I knew you were going to take South Carolina that game because you just hate Missouri.
They suck.
And they're not
terrible.
very good. No,
Frauds.
I get it. Yes.
I really don't dislike Eli Drinkwitz. I think it's fine when he gets on there and calls people out and stuff. I just don't think his football team's any good.
Yeah, I don't know. They're not great. I think South Carolina is pretty good, so I don't have any qualms there. I know that it's Murray State, New Mexico State, but that's so many points. I think you win there though. I mean, you did well in the first few weeks of the season.
Those lines are.
with those crazy lines.
It's purely a how much does Bama care?
It is, yeah.
And
it is.
My guess is that Milroe will throw some, and they'll win the game 40-7.
Maybe, yeah.
And that's a cover.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I struggled with quite a few of these. Texas and Arkansas.
That one is just interesting because Texas just hasn't.
They haven't done
anything.
I mean, they beat a Florida team that had no quarterback last week, and I was really hoping LSU.
Maybe Oklahoma that had no quarterback.
They beat an Oklahoma with they can have no injuries and they have no quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's a rivalry game. Arkansas fans will care. By the way, nice home schedule for the Razorback season ticket holders.
It really has.
They got LSU, Ole Miss, Texas, and Tennessee. That's
not bad.
I mean, it sucks that you're going to probably lose 3 of them, but you got the Tennessee game. That's a lot of fun weekends up on the hill until they kick the ball off and you get your butt kicked. I think that. Oh, you didn't give me your thoughts on Tennessee and Georgia.
Yeah, that one. I like the pick. As I've said before, I think Tennessee is the best team in the SEC. Of course, I'll probably be proven wrong this Saturday.
But would you be shocked if Georgia wins this game 38-13?
I will be.
You'll be shocked.
I will be because Carson Beck has been so bad.
Yes.
He's thrown so many interceptions in the last few games. In the big games he's played, he has not played well.
But Georgia has a tendency to do that to teams. Like the Hendon Hooker team went in there and just got annihilated.
Yeah.
Ole Miss went in there last year kind of riding high, got flattened.
They're obviously. I mean, you look. They're going to
bring up TCU.
They're going to be pissed.
Team,
they're going to be pissed coming into this game. I mean, they got flat out beat by Ole Miss, and Kirby Smart is going to be laying into them this whole week. So I'm sure they're going to be fired up and they're going to play, with their hair on fire. But I just really like Tennessee, and I think their defense is really good and their running game is really good. And as long as if they can capitalize, because Carson Beck is going to turn the ball over, if they can get some points off those turnovers and run the ball effectively and kind of play, clock control, keep the ball away from Georgia, then it's going to be low scoring, and I think it's going to be close all the way.
That would be a good cover for me.
It would be.
We'll see. How many games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. So be a big swing.
Yeah, I didn't know you were even going to do those because I couldn't even find lines for those.
I just Googled them and they'll show up.
games. But
you can find them if you Google.
Yeah.
So all good. Yeah, you already knew I was going to take South Carolina.
I knew it.
We'll grade them on Monday. When we come back, let's talk Tigers and Gators. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Awesome night at LeBears last night inside ESPN Bet. We had Jaden Daniels and the Commanders on. That didn't go great, but they also were able to put the LSU-Kansas State game on streaming on ESPN Plus right there on the big screen as well. It was a split screen, and they had them, so I was able to keep track of both. It was a great time. It's an awesome place to watch games. So get on by ESPN Bet inside LeBears. Great food, awesome drink specials. Comfortable chairs, blackjack tables in walking distance right there in the sports book. It's a fantastic spot to watch the games. You can get on by on Saturday to watch them all because LSU is out of town. Plus, you can sign up for the Cover 5 SEC contest. Download the Cover 5 app and put in the code LABRSEC24. I put in my picks earlier today. I'm not going to tell you my picks, but if you just listen to the show, you would have them. So you can compete against me and dozens of other listeners as well. If you're not a member, get the Penn Play app today. LeBears Baton Rouge, your live sports headquarters. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
LSU in Florida tomorrow from the Swamp. 2:30 Central Time kickoff in Gainesville. If I back things up, that puts me on the air at 12:30. That means I can't do it, 8:30 or 9:30? 9:30?
6 hours before.
5 hours before kick.
Or 5, yeah.
So
5.
9:30.
Yeah.
Just math. I just don't math.
No.
I don't math good at all. But at 9:30, our coverage here at Guarantee starts off with Eagle 98.1 Game Day. I'll be on for 3 hours. I'll hand it off to me on the LSU Sports Radio Network for the pregame show. At 12:30, I'll go until 2 o'clock or thereabouts, hand it to the broadcast team back in Gainesville. And then 90 minutes after it goes final, you can catch Charlie and Richard Dixon on Eagle 98.1 Game Day's post-game show. I'm on 30 minutes after the game goes final with Brandon. No Brandon Taylor this week because he's hunting stuff in Mexico. But Marlon's here. He was on with the morning show guys this morning, and he'll be with me tomorrow for pregame and postgame. So looking forward to for all your coverage tomorrow, starting at 9:30 in the morning, going through probably about 10 o'clock at night. Generally about 12 hours of coverage there over on Eagle 98.1. I was surprised yesterday. I was very surprised yesterday that Billy Napier announced DJ Lagway would play. I've given my reasons for that all week, and they haven't really changed. DJ Lagway is really the only thing that football program has going for it. No one in blue and orange really believes in Billy Napier. They're not playing for anything this year. Their recruiting class is not great. The defense has been gashed all year. The offense has been spotty. Lagway is the hope for that program. If he's great, Napier's got a chance. If he's not, well, they'll be making a change next year. And for them to risk him 2 weeks after he had been carted off the field with a hamstring injury felt ridiculous to me. And it still kind of does. And I've never pulled a hamstring, and I'm not an orthopedic doctor. So my opinion on the matter is uneducated and not really worth all that much. But it feels like that's an injury, in my opinion, that would be pretty easy to re-injure. And if he's the hope of the football program, I just don't know why you would put him out there in a chance where there's a reasonable risk he could re-injure that hamstring. Just my thoughts. Maybe he feels 100% and he can give it a go tomorrow and he's full strength. Maybe he's not, but just wants to gut it out. And that's the part I just am not really sure about. It's hard to analyze this game when you don't know how well Lagway can run. And I detailed earlier this week, he's not a huge running threat. He's a good athlete. He does not run like Taylon Green. He does not run like Jalen Milroe. He doesn't run like Jaden Daniels. He runs like Joe Burrow. He runs like Jackson Dart. Like he's a good athlete. But what Florida does like to do with him back there is do all the ball handling stuff with the read option and get the run game going. And I can promise you that will be mission number one for Florida for sure, is the running game. That's why back on Wednesday when I gave you keys to this game, the biggest key to the game for me was LSU's front seven defensively matching up with Florida's front seven, offensive front. Can you hold the point of attack and slow the running game down? If you do, and you force Lagway to sit back in the pocket and throw, he's not going to be great. LSU will get pressure on him. LSU's corners have played better. Eugene Wilson III is not playing in this game. This is a Florida offense that's not loaded with playmakers. And if Lagway's got to sit back there and throw much of the night, he's not going to hurt you all that bad. But if you can run the ball, that's what Florida wants to do, and they just ran it right down Kentucky's throat. Lagway hit a couple of big plays through the air that weren't necessarily pinpoint throws. He just gave his guys a chance to go make a play one-on-one, and a couple times they did. But LSU's got to stop the run, and if they do that, and I don't think it's going to be a ton of Lagway, but it'll be some, then they'll be fine on defense. This is not like Jalen Milroe. This is not like Marcel Reed. As far as LSU's offense goes, they should get a rhythm going. But I think a lot of you who are listening to this and who are LSU fans are down on the quarterback right now. And he's turned the ball over too much. There's just no two ways about it. But this is pretty simple. Like, LSU's not going to turn into some running juggernaut. LSU's wide receivers are not all of a sudden going to morph into Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. For LSU to move the ball, Garrett Nussmeier's got to play better. And he did early in the season. 2.5 weeks ago, we thought he was the best quarterback in the conference. And now he's in a slump. And Brian Kelly talked about him last night and kind of how he's evolved this week and what it's been like. And I thought the statement he made was a pretty powerful one.
I've spent a lot of time with him this week. I think he's been thoughtful, intentional. He's taken leadership. I just like the way he's locked in this week. And my experience tells me that when a quarterback is this locked in, you might want to watch the game, because I think he's going to have a heck of a game.
I tend to think Kelly, generally speaking, tells the truth. At the podium.
The only thing is that's the TJ Rib show. So like, that was the press conference. Okay, that was the press conference. So that's I was gonna say like, cause obviously
sometimes you play to the crowd.
Sometimes
sure.
but in that situation, no, you're right.
I think he's had a good week of practice. I was in the building this morning. As I told you yesterday, the teams responded pretty well. Certainly better than the fan base, which is to be expected. And I just feel like it's time for Garrett Nussmeier to bust out of this little slump here. And this is a good team, quite frankly, to do it against. And while LSU does need to run the ball and lessen the pressure on Garrett Nussmeier to perform at an all-world level, he is going to have to be good for LSU to win this game. And you're looking at a Florida team that has really faced 3 quality passing offenses. And Cam Moore to Miami is a quality passing offense, and they threw for 385 yards and 3 touchdowns on Florida. Carson Beck, despite the turnovers, throws for a lot of yards. And he threw for 309 and 2 touchdowns against Florida. And Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning last week for Texas, with Isaiah Bond and all those weapons on the outside, threw for 352 yards and 5 touchdowns on Florida. This is not DBU of Florida. This is a team that, when they've faced functional quarterbacks, have really struggled. And to that point, like, they couldn't even make Marcel Reed throw it because A&M just ran it for 350 yards on him. So Nussmeier needs to shake out of it, and this is a good spot for it. I think the first quarter of this game is massively important to LSU in 2 ways: to stop that Florida run and to get Nussmeier comfortable and to get a lead. If you can do that, I think LSU will be okay. I don't think the scenario we saw unfold in College Station is on the table this week, because I don't think Florida can dominate LSU up front the way A&M did. And I think that it will make Garrett Nussmeier feel more comfortable and those interceptions won't come. But make no mistake, teams have adjusted to the way they play LSU defensively over the last 3 weeks. You're seeing far more blitz-heavy pressures in the middle of the offensive line where DJ Chester is playing, where another redshirt freshman in Paul Mabenga is playing. They're going up the gut there to make Garrett Nussmeier uncomfortable, and he has not really responded to that very well. But LSU knows that now. It's time for LSU to adjust. And I'm pretty confident that it's going to happen, because I don't think a Florida defense that is without its second best linebacker and without its top two corners, missing 4 DBs in total, is really ready to dominate LSU the way that A&M did in the second half and that Alabama did for 4 quarters. It has probably a little bit more to do with what Florida's got as opposed to LSU just reinventing the wheel. I've watched the same 6 quarters y'all have all watched as well, but I also watched this team dominate Arkansas. I also watched this team, after going down 17-0 against South Carolina, really impose its will the rest of the way outside of 2 big plays. So it's nice to talk about LSU being far better on defense and being far better in the run game. And all that stuff needs to make improvements. But the fact of the matter is that this LSU team, and it's the same thing I told you last week when we were breaking down LSU and Alabama. It was the first thing I did talking LSU Bama. The first segment we did on that game last week. I said, we're going to talk about every angle of this game. But the fact of the matter is, if LSU doesn't get really good play from Garrett Nussmeier, they're in trouble. And Garrett Nussmeier turned the ball over 3 times. Garrett Nussmeier and his offense didn't get the ball in the end zone in the red zone. One of those was a combo of the two where he made a turnover in the red zone. It is what it is. And at this point, you're not going to change your stripes. So I've got a column up at LouisianaSports.net that kind of alludes to this, but I think that it's a pretty simple breakdown there. And I think that Florida lacks the dudes to just completely combat LSU. The variable I cannot account for right this second when I'm breaking down this game and thinking about it and looking at the highlights and looking at the stats page and going over some of the picks that we've heard from analysts, like I can't account for what DJ Lagway's hamstring feels like. And we're just not going to know until he goes out there. And I feel like the exact same shoes are going to be on Blake Baker's feet. Like, he doesn't know either. I'm sure they have a plan for Aiden Warner. I'm sure they have a plan for a DJ Lagway that's handing the ball off on every read option and not running. And I'm sure they have a plan for DJ Lagway if he looks like he's a full go. And you're just going to have to feel it out. You have to start with the assumption he's a full go, but you may come off that. And if he's gimpy, LSU's going to turn up the heat. You heard Brian Kelly talk yesterday. Like, when teams have to throw against us, it's not a lot of fun. Arkansas had to throw against LSU. Tigers put the clamps on that. Ole Miss threw it a lot on LSU and got sacked 6 times. I think that could be very much the same for DJ Lagway, and he's a young enough player where if you can dial that pressure up and get it going and he can't move and run the way he wants to, he may put some balls in harm's way. We'll see. LSU in Florida at 2:30 tomorrow on ABC. All right, let's take a time out. When we come back, we'll do a little take it or leave it. My final picks, Saints, Browns, and LSU, Florida, coming up at the end of the show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. I know that we live in a delivery world. You don't go to the restaurant anymore. You have the food brought to you. You don't go to the store to get all your toiletries and whatnot. You have those just delivered to you. The same thing can apply in the car world. Go to genesisofbatonrouge.com and check out their line of vehicles. You see something you're interested in, which you probably will. You'd like to test drive it, but want it brought to you, they can bring it to you. One of their brand ambassadors will get in that car. They'll drive it right to you at work, at home. You can test drive it right there. If you don't want to go to the dealership to buy the car, you don't have to. They can do digital delivery. They got e-contracts. You never have to set foot at Airline in PQ to purchase a Genesis from Genesis of Baton Rouge. I would advise that you do, because it's a wonderful experience at an unbelievably clean and state-of-the-art dealership. But you don't have to. You can have it at your convenience. And when you purchase that Genesis at Genesis of Baton Rouge, you're talking about a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. That's as good as you're going to find in the industry. 10 years, 100,000 miles. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
It's a good day when payday comes on a Friday. You gotta like that.
That's nice.
It's a nice little perk. I mean, I'm not going to complain if payday's on a Tuesday. I'll take the cash, but it's nice when payday comes on a Friday. You feel like you can maybe go buy a 12-pack of cold pops. It's got all that new cash. What a great day. I'm actually going to go buy, I think, a margarita and go watch the baseball games.
Oh, all right.
Got the father-in-law's in town. He's got the Myers man, which is good.
Brought some baked ziti, I'm guessing.
I think he probably did. We'll see. I'll report back on Monday. Reminder, no Catholic High football tonight. Bears have a bye week in the playoffs, but Cade and his crew will be here at 6 o'clock for Louisiana Prep preview. They'll get you ready for the high school action that will be tonight in the playoffs. And then at 10 o'clock, they'll be back for Louisiana Prep scoreboard for all your scores around the state. Hopefully a huge Flyers win coming up tonight.
Yep.
Very doubtful. But Cade will have you covered from 10 to midnight tonight from inside the Mercedes-Benz Baton Rouge studio. So those guys do incredible work. If you got a kiddo in high school or you just want to be caught up on the scores, you can check them all out from 8 to 10 tonight on Louisiana Prep scoreboard. All right, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. 58-year-old Mike Tyson is fighting Jake Paul, as most people are aware.
Yep.
Iron Mike will knock him out. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it.
Yeah.
Here's my handicapping of this fight. I have no boxing knowledge, but this is what I think. This is like Patrick Ewing taking on like
some YouTube star
Damian
or something.
Collins. It's like Barry Sanders running against like Whit Weeks.
Well, it's not even close to that because Jake Paul is not really a real boxer.
He's not a boxer, but he's a young, strong man.
Yeah.
It's a fist fight.
Yeah.
I just think he's gonna beat up the 58-year-old man.
People forget because it's been so long ago, but Mike Tyson kept fighting
into his 40s.
And
he was terrible.
He was bad.
Those were professional boxers.
They were, but they were bottom of the barrel guys.
Yeah.
They should have been easy wins, and he was just losing. So people forget that because
and that
it was 20
15 years ago.
20 years ago,
Yeah.
really.
It's I'm not gonna watch a second of this. I could not possibly care less. But I think Jake Paul, who's in his mid-20s.
Yeah, he's like 27, I think.
I mean, the guy's 60 years old. There are plenty of 60-year-olds that can probably beat me up, but I'm in terrible shape. So It is what it is.
No, this is purely just a spectacle for the money,
Of course.
cash grabbing. They're wearing 14-ounce gloves, which people may not understand, but most heavyweight fights are 10 ounces. 14 ounces means that you cannot punch as fast.
Yes.
There's not as much velocity, so it's going to be a lot harder to get knocked out. The rounds are only 2 minutes as opposed to 3, so there's less time to get knocked out. So, and it's only 8 rounds as opposed to usually 10 or 12 for professional fights. So this is literally just going to be completely for money. They want eyeballs to watch the fight. I don't expect much to happen. I think Jake Paul could knock out Mike Tyson, but I don't expect much. I think it's going to be a snooze fest.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
that's generally what a lot of fights are. But by the way, I've said this many times on the air, so if you listen repeatedly, but the greatest endorsement of mixed martial arts and professional boxing I've ever heard, and I don't even remember who said it. It's been so many years now, but somebody, the analysts that were talking about the interest in boxing, they said, here's your preview here. If LeBron James and Michael Jordan were both in their prime and playing one-on-one basketball, and a fist fight broke out on the other side of the court, what would you watch? And I was like, that's an incredible promotion for boxing, because I probably would go over there and watch two guys fight.
Yeah, people want to see it, man. It's just in our human instinct, just fighting. All right, next one here. The Swamp is a top 3 venue in the SEC. Take it or leave it.
That's tough.
LSU, Kyle Field.
I'm gonna leave it.
I don't know.
I've seen it on fire. 06 and 08, it was rocking in there, and it was great. And I do think that I like the fact that it has a unique look. The orange walls and the Welcome to the Swamp writing there. It just has a unique feel to it that maybe some of the others kind of look a little more similar. But I don't think I'm going to give it
maybe not
a
right
top
now.
3 venue in the SEC.
It probably was, for sure.
There's a time where I've seen them all just about at their best. I would say I've seen as good as you can see them. I've seen LSU, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Bama for sure, Auburn for sure, Florida for sure, Tennessee for sure, Georgia probably. I saw the Murray-Mettenberger game, although it was an afternoon game, was real good environment. So I haven't seen Kyle Field at his best. That was an 11 a.m. game, and A&M didn't know what Johnny Manziel was at that point. But I've seen them all really good, and the Swamp really good is really good, but I probably wouldn't put it top 3.
All right, next one here. We talked about this during one of the breaks, but
people are going to agree with me. Watch the chat.
The thermostat is down at 65 in a hotel room. Take it or leave it.
Take it. I mean, you get in there, you crank that thing down as far as it will go. You don't do that?
No.
What do you put the thermostat on in a hotel room?
I'll put it on like 68 or 69. Isn't it maybe 65?
64 is what I want. I want it to be absurd. An igloo in there.
That is absurdity, Hunt.
I'm telling you, people are going to agree with me. This is a very, very common practice. When you get into a hotel room and you're not paying for the electricity.
No, I know you're not paying for it.
You make it freezing in there.
It doesn't need to be freezing though. Do you keep it 65? Okay, you don't. If money were no object, you would keep it 65 in your house.
Yeah,
that's just ridiculous.
I mean,
you want to be walking around with pants and a jacket all day?
So when I lived in an apartment in college, I wouldn't put the heater on. So in like January when I would just sleep in sweatpants.
I mean,
just get it.
My wife and I lived in an apartment and utilities were included in the rent, and we still probably kept it on like 68 or 69 during the summer. Like that's ridiculous.
Real cold. You put the blankets on. It's like you can't beat that.
Okay, we've already got one in the chat. 68 is the right answer.
Oh, that's the terrible answer.
Okay, next one here. The Goo Goo Dolls, Hunt, they announced their Summer Anthem 2025 tour today. Take it or leave it.
I mean, you got to take it. I think it's going to be tough for me to see said Goo Goo Dolls, though. The closest they're getting to good old BR is Nashville.
Dang, no casinos?
No, they're hitting up some really. I mean, Seattle gets a double feature back-to-back days.
Come
I guess I could get to Oklahoma City.
Maybe
that would be a spot that I could get to. But you're looking at a lot of. They're at Bangor, Maine, Guilford, New Hampshire.
When are they in Nashville?
Nashville is middle of the summer, I believe. Let me look and see where that Nashville tour date is. Charlotte and Raleigh.
Maybe some baseball as well. You can hit the.
I mean, it's just devastating that they don't want to come down to the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, that's sad.
You're giving the people Bridgeport, Connecticut, and Guilford, New Hampshire, the Goo Goo Dolls, and we don't get it down here in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Biloxi, Orange Beach.
Come on,
that's
man.
ridiculous.
That's disappointing.
They're touring with Dashboard Confession.
Oh my god,
another sick emo band.
Wow,
it's just elite stuff.
What a callback! All right, next one here. Coach Prime will get it done at home against Utah. Take it or leave it.
I'll take that. I think Colorado will be fine in that game. Utah was scrappy last week against BYU, but that's got to be a devastating loss. Clearly, when your athletic director runs to the microphone and starts yelling at the conference, it's been a tough loss for you. I think Colorado's playing really good. I think they win.
Yeah, Cam Rising doesn't exist. Just like, Chris Hilton does exist now, but Cam Rising, no, he's not a real person.
It's been a long go. Cam Rising had to be like high school class of like 2017.
I think 2016 maybe, 2017, something like that.
Ago.
Yeah. BYU might be on upset alert against Kansas. Take it or leave it.
I will take that.
I'll take it too.
That's a good quarterback in Jalen Daniels. I don't think BYU is that great.
They've been winning close games. It's kind of like how Miami was. They were just flying by the seat of their pants on all those wins.
It's a good point, like by J.D. Piquel we were talking to earlier. Or was that Denton that was talking about, like, who are we kidding here? Like, looking at like teams like Ole Miss, Tennessee, it would just wipe the floor with BYU. And I think
that was Denton. Yeah,
that's very true. I believe that. Believe that a ton. It's a good story with BYU undefeated and having a Jewish quarterback. That whole thing is an interesting dynamic, but I don't think it's a great football team. And I've said this since we started this whole thing. Like, that conference does not merit an auto bid. If BYU at undefeated gets in as like the 11, like that's fine. But getting a bye and an auto bid is laughable.
But they had to do it though.
No, they don't.
For the conference, the conferences aren't going to agree unless they get that.
No, this is not playtime for Johnny. This is not charity hour.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just telling you.
It's a multi-billion-dollar business with incredible stakes, and we're giving charity to frickin' Cincinnati, BYU, and Baylor. Get out of here.
Okay,
they're not any good.
Okay.
Sorry, Coach Aranda. Appreciate your efforts.
All right, a couple more here. Dan Graziano did an article today with his 2025 offseason thoughts, possible cuts or trade candidates. And one of them he had on there, Derek Carr. He says, obviously moving on to a new coach, new offensive coordinator most likely, and with the way the contract is structured, if the Saints cut him before the third day of the league year, then his $30 million won't be fully guaranteed. Obviously, it'll be dead cap hit, but either way, it's more likely, he says, that Carr's looking for his third team by the middle of March, while the Saints are looking at the draft and free agency for his replacement. Take it or leave it.
I'll take the first part of that they're gonna look for his replacement, but they're not gonna cut him and go $30 million dead. I don't think.
Maybe not.
I mean, it just depends. If the bottom falls out and they draft what they think is the franchise quarterback 3rd overall, then maybe, because you just don't care. But I just think they're going to have him on the team for a $30 million dead hit next year, and you can still have your quarterback of the future waiting in the wings. That's just the way that I see it.
I think I agree with you too there. But I mean, Dan Graziano, pretty respected guy, so I wouldn't.
I don't think he made it up.
I don't think he made it up, or I don't think he would just say that, to see if it sticks. I think he's got something behind that. But anyways, last one here, Paul Skeens was named first team All MLB today. He's the best pitcher in baseball. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave that.
Yeah, he's not. I don't know if he's there yet.
But he's close.
He's really close.
I would go with Scooball there. And really, that's only 1 year of work, and Skeens is at almost a year of work. But I think Scooball was better down the stretch. He dominated in the postseason as well. Skeens is really good, and I think if you asked 10 Major League Baseball experts, media members, whatever, voters, in 2 years, who's the best pitcher in the planet going to be?
Skeens.
I think you would get 8 Skeens.
Yeah.
So it's very cool that he played for our team.
That was pretty funny on game day when he talked about doing the homework and saving.
Homework you did?
Yeah.
I bet Skeens tried that first semester,
I'm sure he
man,
did,
it'd probably be pretty difficult in March once you're throwing 102 and nobody can get a hit off you. Probably just gonna not worry too much about that Psych 1002.
Probably not.
That's it for Take It or Leave It. We've got just about one order of business left to go here on this Friday. A reminder, our Football Fridays each and every Friday. Start at 7 o'clock in the morning with Off the Bench. Then Live at Lunch goes from 10 to 1 from Ruffino's, an hour early with an extended hour. Richard Dixon joins the guys there from Ruffino's. I'm 1 to 3. Matt is 3 to 6. And as we mentioned there earlier in this segment, Cade got the high school stuff all covered starting at 6 o'clock and going until midnight tonight. So every single Friday, there's only 2 left, but we've been live and local from 7 a.m. to about midnight here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, and we appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We'll step aside. One more time out, then we'll come back and pick some football games on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com. Jonathan Carbo and his team, fantastic people over there at the Highland Insurance Group, and they know what they're doing. I know that a lot of you that are business owners don't love talking about insurance, but what I found in my time in insurance is a lot of folks who own businesses aren't really sure what their insurance policies say. They just know what the premium is. It comes out every month, and they think they're covered. Well, then you find out that there are exclusions that you haven't met, or there are deductibles that you weren't aware of, or that there are limits on certain causes of loss that you didn't know because you didn't take the time to look at it and you were just looking at the dollar signs. If you're handling your insurance and you're looking for a magic bullet that is going to save you 20%, this is probably not the call to make to the Highland Insurance Group. If you want to make sure that your business is running smoothly and that something that could throw your books way out of whack doesn't, the Highland Insurance Group is the call that you need to make. Employment practice liability, crime, cyber, directors and officers, umbrella insurance, all those probably you're familiar with, but do you know what they do? Call Jonathan Carbo and his team and make sure that you are protected. They'll get you in the right market. They have dozens of markets at their disposal, and make sure you're paying the right premium. It's the Highland Insurance Group. You can check them out online at HighlandIG.com. They're right here in Baton Rouge. Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
So we're closing up shop here on a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Huge shout out to the folks at Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Always happy to help you out with catering. If you got a game watching party this weekend, if you're feeding a high school football team, if you've got an office Christmas lunch that's coming up and want to get some food in bulk, they can always help you at Corks. They got big trays of the crispy fried catfish, big old trays of that jumbo Gulf shrimp, the French fries as well. Get your honey butter rolls. You can do pork chops, po' boys, salads, coleslaw. It's all right there at Corks. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. Had somebody in the Bayou Ford chat saying, hey, did Hunt ever treat the crew to Corks? I did a couple of weeks ago. They got the big haul, and it was enough for like 6 of us to eat full lunches on. So fantastic stuff over there from the folks at Corks. So we appreciate them bringing you our Friday shows each and every week. All right, it's been a fun show today. Started things off talking about LSU's basketball win over Kansas State last night. Really impressive stuff from Matt McMahon's team, and I went into it at the top of the show. Preston Guy, good enough to be with us at TigerBait.com. He was talking some LSU football with us. I got you ready for the NFL slate. It's got some really good games at the top of the AFC. Saints and Browns talk at 1:45. You can find all our Saints content at Hunt on Saints. The SEC picks against the spread. We'll see how those go on Monday. Big one in Athens, Georgia. Quarterback conversation between LSU and Florida at 2:15, and then some take it or leave it as well. You can always get our stuff on demand wherever you find your sound. You can certainly find us on YouTube as well. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. If you're looking for LSU football content, Hunt on LSU. If you're looking for Saints content, Hunt on Saints. And want to remind you, of course, about LouisianaSports.net as well. Your Saints practice report already up at LouisianaSports.net right now. I'll have a story and a column on LSU-Florida tomorrow evening. Chris Mahler's got your SEC stuff covered. There's a great Fridays piece that he writes every week called Winning and Boozing, talking about what drinks you should drink while you watch SEC football. So if you're looking for a Friday laugh, go check that out. Everything is free at LouisianaSports.net. Only thing we have left to do is pick some football games. We'll start with the Saints and the Browns.
The New Orleans Saints, the Cleveland Browns. It's time for Hunt's final pick.
A nice Sunday for the black and gold, the team and the fan base last week in the Dome. I thought that was important for everybody involved. I know there are a lot of Saints fans that want a really high draft pick, and you want the team to lose, and you're happy that they've moved on from the head coach, and hopefully are going to do some things very differently moving forward. But still, losing 7 in a row is not a lot of fun, and to have 3 hours of some enjoyment and to beat your arch rival right there at the end is a nice change of pace and a good feel-good on a Sunday. Can they keep it going under Darren Rizzi? That's really the question. They're getting a little bit healthier on the offense. They welcome Eric McCoy back in this game. Derek Carr's back. You're still banged up at wide receiver, no question about that. But you've got some pieces back. You've got to run the football on Cleveland. Got to run it. If they don't run the ball well, they're going to get beat on Sunday because Myles Garrett is going to be a nightmare, and that Derek Carr has no way to combat that. I think they will run it a little bit in this game. I think they will move the ball through the air. And I just don't have confidence that Jameis Winston's going to carve up the Saints. Now, they're going to run it with Nick Chubb for sure, but I just I don't think that you're going to see Cleveland go nuts on the Saints the way that some teams have done, especially early in this season. So my final score is a close one, but the Saints win at home. I'll take the black and gold 24-23 on Sunday. The Saints win their second in a row against the Browns. One more, LSU and Florida on Saturday in the Swamp.
The LSU Tigers, the Florida Gators. It's time for Hunt's final pick.
As I've told you, I've been in the Swamp a number of times. I went in 6, 8, 10, 12, and 20. That's 5 trips to the Swamp. I've seen it at its best. I've seen it at its COVID and when it wasn't all that great. And I don't expect a raucous environment inside the Swamp on Saturday. It's better. It'll be better than it would have been because they've announced DJ Lagway is going to start. If it would have been Aiden Warren, I don't think anybody would have shown up for that game because Florida doesn't have a chance with that guy playing quarterback. With Lagway, they do, and he is the future of that football program as it sits right now. Question is, how healthy is he? And I just can't imagine he's ready to go run the ball 16, 17 times for 65 or 70 yards. I think Florida will give that look to LSU with the read option and that kind of ball handling, and they'll look to run the ball, but I think it'll be the running backs doing that. And they ran it pretty well on Georgia. They ran it pretty well on Texas. They ran it great on Kentucky. Can they run it great on LSU? If they do, it could be a long day, but I think LSU matches up well enough on the outside with Zy Alexander and Ashton Stamps, no Eugene Wilson out there, to use some numbers to stack the box, and I don't think they're going to have to respect Lagway as much running the ball. I think LSU's defense plays well. Florida's defense has been bad. And LSU's offense at a time was really good. They just haven't been for 6 quarters. I'm calling for a reemergence of Garrett Nussmeier here and a chance to get him some confidence. They got to keep him upright. If they do that, I think he'll go to work on a Florida secondary that is missing 4 key contributors, including 2 starters at cornerback. And they don't have a great pass rusher to hurt LSU like Nick Scorton or like some of the guys that Alabama has last week. I think LSU is going to win this game, and I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think LSU wins this game comfortably because I don't think Florida is very good at all, even with DJ Lagway playing quarterback. My final score for tomorrow inside the Swamp is a convincing one. I think it starts early and goes off, and I like LSU 30-13 in this game. I know you're looking at me going, you're nuts. Did you watch LSU play defense last week and again in College Station? Well, I watched the first half in College Station, and I think it could look like that. Give me the Tigers. Give me the Tigers big, and let's see if we can change the juju and the momentum in this town. Those are my picks for LSU and the Saints this weekend. Either way, we'll be talking about it on Monday. I'm going to go watch some baseball this afternoon at the box. Matt's going to drive you home on After Further Review. We'll have the Riot Radio Hours. And Kay Wasan coming up with all your high school football coverage later this evening. All have a great and safe weekend. Should be great weather in Baton Rouge. We're back Monday, same time and same place for another edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com is that website. Just about an hour ago, my father-in-law picked up the kiddo, went home, the alarm was on. He texted me, hey, disarm the burglar alarm. I did it. Then I was able to pull up the camera in the backyard and saw him pitching the ball to the youngster there. So I could let him in the house remotely, and I could make sure everything was okay in the backyard right here at the desk because I've got my security system and burglar alarm from the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. It was so painless for us. Mitchell came out one day. We told him what we wanted. He said, okay. He supplied all the equipment. They installed it. We're not paying any cloud storage fees. I can look at the camera 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, pause, rewind, record. I can also arm and disarm the burglar alarm remotely thanks to the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. Give Mitchell a call at 225-439-7920 or check him out at avssla.com. That's my friends at Audio Video Security Solutions. They're online at avssla.com.